When the Black Hawk descended through Syrian dawn 48 hours later, Senior Chief Marcus Williams had seen enough combat to prepare himself for the worst. 12 Marines dead, 1 Navy corpsman, female, 27 years old, 5 gunshot wounds. The math didn't favor survival. Williams had pulled bodies from Mogadishu rubble, from Fallujah streets, from Afghan mountains where the altitude killed as efficiently as bullets. 22 years as a SEAL medic taught you that some situations had only one outcome. This looked like one of them. The helicopter's skids kissed Earth in a storm of rotor wash and ancient dust. Williams moved before the aircraft fully settled, medical ruck strapped tight, rifle ready, eyes processing the tactical situation through decades of training that had become instinct. First body appeared 20 meters from the landing zone, insurgent fighter. A K-47 clutched in hands that would never fire again. Face down in dirt the color of dried blood. Then another and another. Williams counted as his team spread out in tactical formation. 7, 12, 18. Professional placement. Headshots, center mass. The kind of shooting that separated trained operators from lucky survivors. Clear left, Petty Officer First Class Jenkins called. Clear right, another SEAL confirmed. Williams moved toward the half-collapsed building that dominated the village center. 3 stories of concrete and rebar that had met artillery at some point and decided on compromise. Still standing. Barely. Bodies littered the approach. More insurgents. Scattered in patterns that told stories Williams had learned to read like text. Defensive positions hastily abandoned. Flanking movements stopped mid-execution. A final desperate rush that ended in a kill zone someone had turned into a graveyard. He counted 25, 30, 35. Jesus Christ Almighty. Chief, Jenkins was pointing at something. You need to see this. A shooting position, second-floor window, perfect sight lines covering the entire village approach. Spent brass scattered like offerings. 4 empty M, 4 magazines arranged with the precision of someone who'd needed to track every round. Williams did the math automatically. 30 rounds per magazine. 4 magazines, 120 rounds total. He looked at the body count again. Started adding. 37 confirmed enemy KYA. 119 rounds fired if the magazine count was accurate, which meant a hit rate approaching 90% under sustained combat conditions. Williams had trained with the best marksmen in naval special warfare, had worked alongside Marine Scouts, snipers, and Army Special Forces, had seen what elite operators could do when everything aligned. This was elite-level shooting, master-class precision, from a Navy corpsman who'd been bleeding from 5 separate gunshot wounds. Second floor, his team leader's voice crackled through the radio. Got a pulse, faint but there, female, multiple GSWs. Williams took the stairs fast. Training overriding caution because someone was alive up there, and alive meant possibly savable. And saving people was the only mission that mattered. Found her against the eastern wall where morning light painted her in shades of gold and crimson. Woman, young, small-framed, maybe 5'4" and change. Couldn't have weighed more than 120, soaking wet. Currently soaking in blood that had dried to black crust under the Syrian sun. Navy working uniform, corpsman insignia on the collar. Name tape Brennan, 5 visible wounds that Williams could identify immediately. Left shoulder, right abdomen, left thigh, right upper arm, upper back near the shoulder blade, empty M4 carbine beside her right hand, Beretta M9 pistol still gripped loosely in her left, 4 magazines scattered in a semicircle like she'd been rationing ammunition and tracking every round. A medical ruck lay open nearby, combat gauze wrappers, empty morphine syrettes, tourniquet packaging. IV bags collapsed and dry. She'd been treating herself, fighting off shock and blood loss with the same medical knowledge she'd used on countless Marines. Williams keyed his radio. Command Rescue 7 actual. 1 survivor located. Female Navy corpsman, approximately 27 years old. 5 gunshot wounds visible, likely more. Severe blood loss. Signs of infection. Sepsis probable. Patient is critical but viable. He knelt beside her, fingers finding pulse points, carotid first. Thready, weak, maybe 50 beats per minute when it should have been racing with adrenaline and trauma. Her body was shutting down, conserving resources, making the hard choices between consciousness and survival. Pupils responsive when he checked. Sluggish but reactive, breathing shallow and rapid. Skin hot enough to feel through his gloves. Fever, high one, the kind that came from infection turning septic. Ma'am, can you hear me? I'm Senior Chief Williams, SEAL medic. You're safe now. We've got you. No response. She was beyond words. beyond anything except the most primitive drive to keep breathing. Williams started working with the efficiency of 2 decades experience, 4 in the left arm. The right was too damaged, the antecubital vein likely compromised by the gunshot wound. Celine first, wide open. Her body needed volume before anything else. Second, fourth in the right hand, smaller vein but functional. This one for antibiotics. Broad spectrum because whatever infection had taken root was trying to finish what bullets hadn't. Chief, we've got survivors on the ground floor, Jenkins reported. Marines, 7 of them, all wounded. Gunny Wade is asking for his corpsman. Williams looked at the woman, at Brennan, at what she'd done to serve and to save. Tell the gunny his corpsman just saved all your lives, Williams said quietly. And we're going to make damn sure she lives to hear him say thank you. He covered her with a thermal blanket. The desert sun was climbing, but shock made the body cold regardless of ambient temperature. His team was clearing the rest of the building, counting, cataloging, trying to piece together what had happened in this forgotten Syrian village over the past 48 hours. The numbers kept getting worse, or better depending on perspective. 37 enemy combatants dead, most from precision rifle fire at extended range. A few from close quarters pistol work, all of it professional, clinical, the kind of shooting that required training measured in years, not weeks. Williams checked Brennan's uniform for identification beyond the name tape. Found dog tags, HM2 Sloan Brennan, blood type O positive, Protestant. Next of kin, Margaret Brennan mother. No emergency contact beyond that. No husband, no significant other, just her mother. Williams pulled out his ruggedized tablet. Showed 3 deployments. Iraq showed 3 deployments. Iraq, Afghanistan, now Syria. 4 years active duty. Enlisted at 18 straight out of high school. No disciplinary issues. Multiple commendations for medical care under fire. Standard corpsman record. Good but not exceptional. Then Williams saw the family information. Father Gunnery Sergeant Garrett Allen Brennan, USMC. Scout, sniper. 2nd Battalion, 5th Marines. Killed in action. Operation Steel Curtain, Iraq. November 2005. Williams stopped breathing for exactly 3 seconds. Garrett Brennan. Every Marine Scout sniper knew that name. Every instructor who taught long-range precision fire had studied his after-action reports. The man was a legend, had made shots that defied physics and luck both, had trained a generation of snipers who went on to train the next generation. KIA at 37 years old when an IED caught his vehicle during exfil from a mission where he'd eliminated 6 insurgent fighters at 800 meters to save a pinned squad. That Brennan. Williams looked at the woman, at Sloan Brennan, at the impossible things she'd accomplished. Your father taught you well, Doc, he said softly. Real damn well. The medevac took 30 minutes to organize. Sloan went first. Critical status. Then Gunnery Sergeant Wade, barely clinging to consciousness despite the sucking chest wound and severed femoral artery that should have killed him hours ago. Then the others. 7 Marines who'd survived because one small woman had held the line when any sane person would have died. Williams rode in the bird with Sloan, monitoring vitals, adjusting IV drip rates, watching infection markers that climbed despite the antibiotics flooding her system. She didn't wake during the flight to the field hospital. Didn't wake when surgeons cut away dead tissue and removed bullet fragments from 5 separate wounds. Didn't wake for 72 hours while machines breathed for her and drugs fought an infection that had nearly won. When her eyes finally opened, Williams was there. Landstuhl Regional Medical Center, Germany. The cleanest military hospital outside the continental United States. Best trauma care the Department of Defense could provide. Sloan tried to speak. Couldn't. The breathing tube had only been removed 8 hours prior and her throat felt like someone had taken a cheese grater to the lining. Williams offered water. She drank, coughed, tried again. Marines, 1 word. Hoarse. Barely audible. But the first thing she asked about was her Marines. Williams smiled despite himself. All 7 survived. Wade's going to be complaining about his gut for 6 months, but he'll make it. Callahan's already threatening the physical therapists. The others are stable and talking about you nonstop. Sloan's eyes closed. Relief washing over features that were still too pale, too drawn. You saved them, Williams continued. Held off approximately 40 insurgents for 48 hours while wounded 5 times. 37 confirmed enemy kills. The after-action report is going to read like fiction. Wasn't trying to be a hero. Her voice was strengthening slightly. Just trying to survive. You did both. Williams pulled up a chair. Doc, I've been doing this for 22 years. Worked with Rangers, Green Berets, Force Recon Delta. I've seen the best operators the U.S. military produces. He paused. What you did ranks with anything I've witnessed. The shooting alone would qualify you for advanced sniper training. Doing it while treating your own wounds and protecting 7 Marines, that's not training. That's calling. Sloan was quiet for a long moment, staring at her hands. They were wrapped in bandages where IV lines tunneled into veins. Hands that had held rifles and scalpels. Life and death both. My father was a Marine Scout sniper, she said finally. Garrett Brennan, 2nd Battalion, 5th Marines. I know. I pulled your service record. Williams leaned forward. Your father is legendary in the sniper community. I've studied every after-action report he filed, used them in training courses I taught. He died when I was 8. The words came out flat, emotionless, the kind of control that came from years of practice. IED in Iraq, Operation Steel Curtain. I promised my mother I'd never touch a rifle after that. She'd already lost him to war. Didn't want to lose me, too. Williams nodded slowly. But you picked one up anyway. As 7 Marines were dying, I was dying. The insurgents weren't going to stop. Sloan met his eyes. My father taught me 2 things before he died: how to heal and how to fight. I spent 19 years using only one of those skills. But when the choice was keep my promise or save lives, she trailed it off. You saved lives. That's all that matters. Is it? Sloan's voice carried weight that 27 years shouldn't hold. I broke a promise to my mother. Used skills I swore I'd never use again. Killed 37 people. You protected 7 people. Avenged 12 who died. Survived impossible odds. Williams stood, walked to the window. Doc, there's no glory in killing. We both know that. But there's honor in protecting. Your father understood that. Sounds like he made sure you understood it too. Sloan didn't respond, just stared at the ceiling with eyes that had seen too much and would carry it forever. I need to call my mother, she whispered. Williams pulled out his satellite phone. Take your time, I'll be outside. The conversation lasted 40 minutes. Williams didn't eavesdrop. But when Sloan emerged from the room 3 days later, walking with a cane and moving like every step hurt, something fundamental had shifted in her posture. The weight, the guilt, the crushing sense of having betrayed something sacred. Gone. Not completely. Scars like that never fully healed. But lighter, manageable. The kind of burden someone could carry without breaking. She found Williams in the hospital cafeteria, sat down across from him with the careful precision of someone negotiating with a body that still hadn't forgiven the abuse. My mother says my father would be proud. Sloan's voice was steady, stronger. She said he gave me both skills for a reason, that he knew the world wasn't simple enough for single solutions. Smart woman. She asked what I'm going to do now. Sloan wrapped both hands around a coffee cup. I told her I don't know. I'm a medic. That's my identity, my calling. But I'm also my father's daughter, and I can't unknow what I know. Can't unlearn 19 years of training that saved 7 lives. Integration, Williams said. Not choosing between medic and shooter, being both. Can you really do that? Be both without losing yourself to either, Williams smiled. Doc, I've been a SEAL medic for 22 years. I've saved lives with scalpels, taken them with rifles, sometimes in the same hour, sometimes in the same minute. He sipped his coffee. The operators who survive aren't the ones who specialize. They're the ones who integrate, who understand that healing and fighting are tools in the same toolkit, methods for the same mission, keeping people alive. Exactly. Sloan was quiet for a long moment, watching steam rise from her cup in patterns that meant nothing and everything. What happens now? Now you heal, physical therapy, psych eval, debrief with about 40 people who want to know how you survived. Williams set down his cup. After that, if you want it, I'm authorized to offer you a position. SARC program, Special Amphibious Reconnaissance Corpsman. Trained to work with SEAL teams. Learn to formally integrate both skill sets. Become the kind of medic who can operate anywhere, anytime with anyone. I'd still be a corpsman first. Always. Medical is your primary mission. But you'd learn to defend yourself and your patients with the kind of skill that makes the difference between everyone coming home and half the team in body bags. Sloan stared at her hands, those hands that had held IV lines and EM4 carbines, that had saved and killed in equal measure. I need time. Take all the time you need. The offer doesn't expire. 2 weeks later, 3 things happened simultaneously. First, Sloan was cleared to fly back to the continental United States. Naval Medical Center, San Diego. Continue recovery. Begin the long process of putting mind and body back together. Second, the Marine Corps released its after-action report on the Al-Rashid ambush. Classified top secret, but word leaked anyway. Always did. 37 enemy KIA, 119 rounds fired. 7 Marines saved by a Navy corpsman who weighed 122 pounds and had been shot 5 times. The story spread through military channels like wildfire in drought conditions. Embellished. Exaggerated. But the Corps remained true enough to matter. 3rd Gunnery Sergeant Thomas Wade's wife showed up at the hospital. Sloan was in physical therapy when the woman appeared. Mid-40s, kind eyes. The kind of strength that came from raising 3 kids while your husband deployed to places that turned boys into men and men into ghosts. Corpsman Brennan, Sloan stopped mid-exercise. "Ma'am, I'm Catherine Wade, Tom's wife." The woman smiled, but tears tracked down her cheeks. "He's still in recovery. Wanted to come himself, but the doctor said no. So he sent me." "How is the gunny alive?" Catherine pulled something from her purse. "Because of you. Tom told me what happened. All of it. How you treated wounded Marines while taking fire. How you got shot 5 times trying to save his men. How you held off an army to keep him breathing." She opened her hand. A purple heart medal lay in her palm. Worn, old, the ribbon faded from years in handling. This was Tom's, from Fallujah 2004. Took shrapnel from a car bomb while evacuating civilians. Catherine pressed it into Sloan's hands. "He wants you to have it. Says you earned it 5 times over. Says it's not enough, but it's all he has to give." "Ma'am, I can't accept." "You can. You will." Catherine's voice carried the weight of 20 years as a Marine wife. Corpsmen don't get enough recognition. Don't get enough credit for the lives they save. But Tom knows. We all know. You're the reason my husband is coming home. The reason 3 kids still have their father. She pulled Sloan into a hug, hard enough to hurt healing wounds, but neither of them cared. "Thank you," Catherine whispered. "Thank you for bringing him back to us." After she left, Sloan sat in the empty therapy room, holding a purple heart that wasn't hers but somehow was, thinking about sacrifice and service and the cost of keeping promises. The flight home happened 3 days later. Sloan, Wade, Callahan, 3 other Marines who'd survived Al-Rashid. All ambulatory now, all healing, all bound for San Diego and whatever came next. Wade found her in the terminal, stood in front of her wheelchair with the careful posture of a man whose abdomen was held together with surgical staples and prayers. "Doc, Gunny, Catherine told me she gave you the medal." "She did. I tried to refuse." "Good thing she's tougher than both of us." Wade smiled. "Doc, I've been a Marine for 23 years, seen a lot of combat, worked with a lot of corpsmen." He paused. "You're the best I've ever seen. Not just the medical work, the tactical thinking, the courage under fire. You saved 7 Marines against impossible odds. That's not luck. That's skill and training and something you can't teach." "My father taught me." "I know. Garrett Brennan. Legend." Wade's expression softened. "I was a boot lance corporal when your father was at his peak. Heard stories about him, the 800-meter shots, the impossible angles, the way he could read terrain like a book." He gestured at Sloan. "You inherited more than his name. You inherited his gift." Callahan appeared beside Wade, Staff Sergeant James Callahan. Hip wound healing, but still requiring a cane that matched Sloan's. "Doc," he offered his hand. She shook it. "I knew there was something different about you from day one. The way you moved, the way you observed terrain. Your father trained you right. He trained me for 2 years, 6 to 8 years old, then he died. 2 years was enough." Callahan's smile was genuine. He packed a lifetime of knowledge into a small window, made every minute count. You're proof that good training sticks forever. The flight attendant called boarding. The group moved slowly, carefully. A collection of wounded warriors heading home to heal. Sloan settled into her seat. Window view, Pacific Ocean, waiting somewhere beyond the curve of the earth. She was going home, but home felt different now. Felt like a promise kept and a promise broken, and somehow both were okay. 72 hours earlier. Before the rescue, before hope, the medical bay at Forward Operating Base Kestrel smelled like every field hospital Sloan had ever known. Antiseptic fighting a losing battle against blood. Diesel fuel seeping through canvas walls that promised protection and delivered none. Sand working into everything despite filtration systems that cost more than her annual salary. Sloan was elbow-deep in medication inventory when Gunnery Sergeant Wade entered. 215 pounds of Marine Corps tradition packed into a 6'2" frame that still ran 20-year-olds into submission during morning PT. "Doc, Need to talk. Sloan set down her clipboard. Her hands, small hands steady, hands. Her father had trained to save lives and take them both never trembled when she worked. Gunny. Wade pulled up a chair that protested his weight. Recon patrol, tomorrow, border village. Intel says we've got a contact willing to talk. High-value information about weapons trafficking. I'll prep the aid kit. That's the thing. Wade's jaw worked like he was chewing words that tasted bad. You're staying on base. The bay went quiet except for generators and distant artillery that rumbled like approaching thunder. Sir, my assignment. I know your assignment, Doc. Wade leaned forward. You've been with this platoon 6 months. Best corpsman I've worked with in 15 years. No exaggeration. He paused, choosing words carefully. But that village is hot. 3 IED strikes in 30 days. Sniper activity. Last patrol took contact 2 clicks out. Lost 1 Marine. Evacuated 2 more. Sloan kept her voice level. Which is why you need a corpsman gunny, not someone still learning the difference between arterial and venous bleeding. We're taking Corporal Hayes. He's been through. Hayes has 8 weeks of training. I have 4 years of combat deployments. She didn't raise her voice. Didn't need to. Sir, Wade stood, paced 3 steps to the supply cabinet and back. The tent wasn't big enough for a man his size to think properly. Doc, you're 5'4", 122 pounds. My rifle weighs more than you do. Your rifle doesn't perform needle decompressions or manage hemorrhagic shock. I do. Something almost like respect flickered across Wade's face. You don't quit, do you? No, sir. The words came automatically. My father taught me better than that. The phrase slipped out before she could stop it, a crack in the professional armor she maintained. Wade noticed, filed it away for later consideration. Final answer is no, Doc. You stay on base. That's an order. He left before she could argue. Sloan returned to counting morphine ampules. Her hands stayed rock steady. They always did. 19 years of practice had made certain of that. But somewhere in the back of her mind, a voice that sounded like her father whispered words she'd spent 2 decades trying to forget. Heal when you can, baby girl. Fight when you must. But never stop moving forward. 24 hours later, Sloan was checking Corporal Dylan Pritchard's shoulder wound when her nose caught something wrong. Subtle, almost imperceptible. The kind of detail that separated competent medics from exceptional ones. Pritchard sat on the exam table playing a handheld game console someone had smuggled into theater, completely unaware that his body was sending distress signals. Sloan leaned closer, inhaled carefully. There, sweet, faintly rotten beneath layers of antiseptic. The specific smell of infected tissue beginning to necrotize. Pritchard, how's the shoulder feeling? Fine, Doc, little sore maybe. Just a little. Yeah, I mean. He shifted, winced, tried to hide it. Nothing serious. Sloan pulled fresh gloves from the dispenser. Let me see it. She peeled back the dressing with practiced efficiency. The wound looked acceptable at first glance, closed, no obvious discharge. Hayes had done competent work. But the tissue around it told a different story. Hot, tight, slightly discolored. The beginning of cellulitis spreading into deep muscle tissue. Sloan pressed gently, felt firmness that shouldn't exist. Watched Pritchard's face go white. When did the pain get worse? I don't know. Yesterday, thought I slept on it wrong. You didn't. She was already moving, pulling supplies. You've got an infection spreading into the tissue. Another 12 hours and we're looking at IV antibiotics. Maybe surgery. Pritchard's eyes widened. Hayes checked it yesterday, said it looked good. Hayes is competent, but he's been doing this 8 weeks. Sloan prepped the drainage kit. This is going to hurt. I need to open the wound and clear the abscess before it spreads. How did you even know it barely looks? The smell? Infected tissue has a specific odor. Sweet but wrong. You learn to recognize it before visual symptoms appear. She worked for 20 minutes, draining, cleaning, debriding dead tissue with the precision of someone who'd done this hundreds of times. Applying proper antimicrobial dressing, starting oral antibiotics at therapeutic doses. Pritchard gritted his teeth through all of it, never complained. Good Marine. When she finished, his shoulder looked worse than when she'd started. Raw, angry red, but clean now, healing properly instead of rotting from within. Light duty for 48 hours, Sloan said. Check back every 12 hours. Any fever, increased pain, red streaks, you find me immediately. Understood. Yes, ma'am, I mean Doc. Pritchard flexed his arm experimentally. How did you even know to look? 4 years watching Marines try to tough out injuries that could kill them. Sloan stripped off her gloves. You develop instincts. After Pritchard left, Sloan updated his chart, documented the infection, the intervention, the treatment protocol. She was filing paperwork when Wade appeared. The gunnery sergeant looked at Pritchard's retreating form. Back to Sloan, his expression unreadable. Hayes missed that. Early presentation, easy to overlook without specific training. But you caught it. Yes, sir. Wade was quiet, thinking, processing. Doc Williams, the SEAL medic I trained with back in 2003, he had that same ability. Could smell infections before they showed on any diagnostic. Saved 3 guys in Fallujah that way. He crossed his arms. You ever work with SEALs? No, sir. Marines only. Interesting. Wade studied her like she was a tactical problem that didn't quite compute. That patrol tomorrow, you still want in? Sloan kept her expression neutral. If you need me, Gunny. Yeah, Wade nodded slowly. I think we do. Be ready at 0500, full kit. This is real-world doc, not a training exercise. Understood, sir. After he left, Sloan allowed herself exactly 5 seconds of satisfaction. Then she returned to work, because that's what medics did. They worked, they saved, they kept going when quitting would be easier, but her hands, those rock-steady hands, trembled slightly as she locked the medication cabinet. Not from fear, from something older. Something she'd buried 19 years ago next to a flag-draped coffin. Heal when you can, baby girl. Fight when you must, but always remember which one saves more lives. The pre-dawn briefing happened in a plywood room that shook every time an F-16 screamed off the runway. 12 Marines, 1 Navy corpsman. Sloan sat him back, medical ruck at her feet, watching Wade run through the tactical overview with the efficiency of 23 years' experience. Grid reference here. Wade tapped the projected map. Village of Al-Rashid, population approximately 200, right on the border. Intel says we've got a source local elder willing to provide information on weapons smuggling routes used by multiple factions. He clicked to satellite imagery. Brown earth, clustered buildings, single road running east-west like a scar. Approach from the north. 3 Humvees, standard patrol formation. Contacts should take 90 minutes maximum. In and out before lunch. Questions. Corporal Riley O'Connor raised his hand. Mid-20s, Boston accent thick enough to spread. Good Marine, but young enough to think every mission was a movie. Gunny, no disrespect, but is Doc Brennan really coming into the field? 13 sets of eyes found Sloan. She kept her face neutral. She'd heard variations of this question her entire career. Wade's voice could have cut steel. You got a problem with your corpsman, O'Connor? No, sir, just... O'Connor struggled. Just concerned about the physical demands, the load. Doc Brennan carries a 70-pound medical ruck plus personal gear. She does it on patrol, in the gym, during evac drills. Wade's expression didn't shift. She also wheeled your drunk ass out of a burning vehicle during that exercise in April. You remember that, Corporal? O'Connor's face went crimson. Yes, Gunny. She weighs half what you do, still dragged you 30 meters through smoke. So unless you plan on getting wounded and needing someone to save your life, I suggest you focus on your own job. Silence thick enough to feel. Wade turned back to the map. Anyone else want to question my personnel decisions? No one spoke. Outstanding. Movement in 30 mics. Doc, you're in vehicle 2 with me. Stay behind the technical personnel. Your job is medical support. Clear. Crystal Gunny. The room emptied. Marines moving to final equipment checks, last cigarettes. Quiet moments before stepping into uncertainty. Staff Sergeant Callahan stopped beside Sloan's chair. 42, 20 years in reconnaissance. The kind of Marine who missed nothing and said less. He nodded once, a tiny acknowledgement that meant more than words. Sloan nodded back. She shouldered her medical ruck. 72 pounds of equipment designed to keep human beings breathing when physics and ballistics disagreed. Trauma shears, hemostatic agents, combat gauze, tourniquets, chest seals, needle decompression kits, morphine, ketamine, IV fluids, everything necessary to hold death at arm's length. Her father's voice whispered across 19 years. Those hands can hold more than rifles, baby girl. They can hold life itself. That's the real power. She pushed the memory down, locked it away. Today she was just a medic, nothing more. I am. The Humvees departed at 0540 under skies turning from black to gray to the color of old bruises. Sloan sat wedged between Callahan and a radio operator named Sullivan. The interior smelled like gun oil and energy drinks and the particular flavor of nervous energy that came with leaving the wire. Wade drove. O'Connor rode shotgun. M4 carbine pointed out the window at a landscape that promised nothing good. Radio chatter filled the space. Position updates, vehicle spacing, speed adjustments. Sloan watched terrain slide past, brown earth, scattered rocks, skeletal remains of things that might have been trees before drought and war had opinions. Callahan leaned close. First time outside the wire dock. No staff sergeant, third deployment. Afghanistan and Iraq before that. Callahan studied her face in dim light. You're young for 3 deployments. Joined at 18, made it my career. Family military. The question was casual. Small talk to fill dangerous hours. But Sloane's answer caught in her throat for 1 second too long. My father, Marines. What unit? Scout sniper, 2nd Battalion, 5th Marines. Something shifted in Callahan's expression. Recognition lighting behind his eyes. Garrett Brennan. The name hit like artillery. Sloane's voice stayed level through pure discipline. You knew of him. I was 4th Marines when he, in 2005, Iraq, steel curtain. Callahan's eyes held respect. He eliminated 6 insurgents from 800 meters to save a pinned squad. Got hit on the exfil, IED. They said, I know what they said. Sloan cut him off, gentler than intended. I was 8 years old. Christ, Doc, I'm sorry. Long time ago. But it wasn't. 19 years felt like yesterday when she let herself remember. The rifle range where he'd taught her, his hands guiding hers. The smell of hops number 9 and Kentucky bourbon and Old Spice. Breathe in for 4, baby girl. Hold for 7, out for 8. Between heartbeats, that's when you squeeze. Gentle, like you don't want to wake a sleeping baby. Callahan watched her, reading things she didn't want readable. He taught you, didn't he? I saw how you were looking at the terrain earlier, the sight lines, the fields of fire. That's not medic training. He taught me a lot of things. Sloan turned back to the window. Most of them I don't use anymore. Why not? Because I promised my mother I'd save lives, not take them. The conversation died, but Callahan's eyes stayed on her, watching, calculating, seeing connections she'd spent 19 years hiding. The village appeared 40 minutes later. Brown buildings rising from brown earth under a sky promising heat the sun hadn't delivered yet. Wade's voice crackled through the radio. All vehicles standard approach. But something feels wrong. Stay sharp. Sloan leaned forward, scanned the village through dust-streaked windows. Wade was right. No children playing in early morning coolness. No women at the well. No old men in doorways watching the day begin. Just emptiness. Silence. And somewhere deep in her brain, an alarm bell that sounded exactly like her father's voice. When the battlefield goes quiet, baby girl, that's when you move. Because the enemy already has. The first RPG hit Vehicle 1 before anyone could process the wrongness. The world became fire and physics and the wet sound of pressure waves hitting human flesh. Vehicle 1-4 Marines erupted in a fireball that turned morning into hell. Metal screaming, glass shattering, bodies ragdolling through space like physics demonstrations. Sloan's training bypassed conscious thought entirely. Contact, Wade's voice, hoarse, commanding. Dismount, get to cover. She grabbed her medical ruck, 72 pounds. Threw open the door as a K-47 fire chewed through the space where her head had been 3 seconds earlier. Hit the ground rolling. Years of muscle memory that had nothing to do with Navy medicine and everything to do with a Georgia rifle range. Don't be where the bullets are going, baby girl. Be where they've already been. The ambush was textbook perfect. 30-plus insurgent fighters positioned in buildings on 3 sides. High ground, overlapping fields of fire. No retreat route. Professional work. Marines were dismounting, returning fire, taking cover behind anything that might stop 7.62 millimeter rounds traveling at 2,400 feet per second. It wasn't enough. Sullivan went down first. Center mass. The radio operator grabbed his chest and dropped like someone had cut his power. Sloan moved before deciding to move. Medic autopilot. The part of her brain that had done this 100 times in training and a dozen times for real. Grabbed Sullivan's kit. Dragged him behind Vehicle 2. 190 pounds of Marine and equipment. She weighed 122 and moved him like he was made of foam. Adrenaline, fear, training. Sullivan was gasping, blood spreading across his plate carrier. Sloan ripped it open, found the wound, high right chest, sucking, air bubbling through the hole where it shouldn't be. Pneumothorax. His lung was collapsing. Stay with me, Sullivan. Her hands moved independently of thought. Chest seal. Occlusive dressing. Applying pressure. You're not dying today. Gunfire rattled overhead. Ricochet screamed off metal. Then pain. White hot. Left shoulder. Like someone had driven a railroad spike through muscle and bone and kept pushing. Sloan looked down. Saw the hole. Saw blood, her blood mixing with Sullivan's. First time. Ever. She'd been shot. Her father's voice cut through shock. Pain is just information, baby girl. Data. Process it later. Right now, finish the job. She sealed Sullivan's chest, started an IV with hands that only shook slightly. Pushed morphine. Doc, Wade's voice from her left. We need you. Pritchard was down. The same Marine whose infection she'd caught yesterday. Now he had a tourniquet on his leg, but it wasn't tight enough, and arterial blood was pumping out with each heartbeat. Sloan low-crawled 15 feet. Open ground, bullets turning air into angry hornets that wanted her dead. Made it, somehow. Pritchard's femoral artery was partially severed. The tourniquet was on, but not high enough, not tight enough. He'd bleed out in 3 minutes. She repositioned it, tightened until Pritchard screamed, watched his face go white as circulation stopped, causing agony, saving life. Pain in her right side. Sharp. Breath stealing. Second hit. Ribs maybe, or liver. Hard to tell through adrenaline. She looked down, saw the second hole. Blood soaking through her uniform. 2 gunshot wounds. Still moving. That's my girl. Don't stop. Movement is life. Doc, you're hit, Callahan, appearing beside her, reaching for her shoulder. I know. Sloan pushed his hand away, finished with Pritchard. Get him back to the vehicle. I've got more wounded. Doc, I need you to follow orders. Staff Sergeant. She moved to the next Marine, O'Connor, the one who'd questioned her presence. He'd taken rounds to both legs and was trying to crawl toward cover with determination and 0 success. Sloan reached him, started working. The firefight had lasted maybe 5 minutes. Felt like hours. Vehicle 1 was gone. Everyone inside dead. Vehicle 3 was disabled, smoke billowing from the engine. 8 Marines left, plus 1 wounded corpsman. The insurgents were closing, tightening the noose. Wade's voice cut through chaos. Doc, we need to consolidate. Fall back to Vehicle 2. Sloan looked up, saw the tactical situation with terrible clarity. Surrounded, outgunned, taking casualties faster than she could treat them. This wasn't a firefight. This was an execution in slow motion. She grabbed O'Connor, dragged him toward Vehicle 2, felt something tear in her leg, looked down. 3rd gunshot wound, left thigh, kept moving anyway. Don't stop, never stop. Movement is life and stopping is death. Made it to the vehicle. Pushed O'Connor into cover, turned for more wounded, saw Callahan going down. Hip shot, spinning, trying to return fire even as he fell. Sloan ran, no cover, no concealment, just open ground and physics and bullets that didn't care about courage. 4th hit, upper back near the left shoulder blade. Entry wound, no exit. The round was still in there. She stumbled, caught herself, reached Callahan. Staff Sergeant, can you move? Doc, Jesus, you're bleeding from everywhere. Can you move? Yeah, I think. 5th gunshot wound hit her right arm as she pulled Callahan to his feet. The impact spun her around, made her drop him. 5 rounds, 5 holes in her body. Morning was still young. She looked around, assessed. Wade firing from behind Vehicle 2. Pritchard and Sullivan being worked on by another Marine. O'Connor trying to load a magazine with hands that shook like leaves. 6 dead Marines scattered across the kill zone. 8 alive, 7 if she didn't count herself. The insurgents were maybe 50 meters away now, moving building to building, taking their time. Why rush? The Americans were already dead. Just didn't know it yet. Sloan pulled Callahan into cover. Her medical ruck sat next to Sullivan. She grabbed it, started pulling supplies with one functional arm. Tourniquet for her thigh, quick clot for her shoulder. Pressure dressing for her side. Wade appeared. Doc, you need to. I'm still operational, Gunny. You've been shot 5 times. I'm aware. She tightened the tourniquet. Stars exploded across her vision. How many wounded? Everyone still breathing is wounded, Doc, including you. Then I better keep working. She moved to the next Marine, then the next. Hands steady despite blood loss. Despite pain breaking through adrenaline. Steady hands, baby girl. That's the only thing that matters. But she could feel it now. Blood loss. Shock beginning. Her body starting the shutdown process. 20 minutes. Maybe 30 before her system gave up. 20 minutes to keep 7 Marines alive against 40 insurgents. With no support, no extraction, no hope. Wade was on the radio, calling for help, getting static. Jamming, and he said, "They're jamming comms." Sloan looked at the tactical situation, really looked. The way her father had taught her to see battlefields as three-dimensional problems. High ground, cover, fields of fire, and 30 meters away, a half-collapsed building. 3 stories, perfect defensive position. If someone could get there, if someone could hold it. She looked at the M4 carbine beside Wade's armor, looked at her hands. Those same hands once held a Remington 700 baby girl, once put rounds through targets at 600 meters, once made your old man proud. 19 years. 19 years since she'd made a promise. But 7 Marines were dying, and she was the only one who could save them. Not with medicine, with something older. Sloan picked up the M4. The weight felt like coming home and betrayal both. Wade grabbed her arm. "Doc, what are you tave on?" "That building, 30 meters, overwatch position." Her voice was clinical. "I can hold it. Buy time for extraction." "You've been shot 5 times." "I know." She pulled a fresh tourniquet from her ruck, tightened it until white stars danced. "Which is why I need to move now, while I still can." "You're a medic." "My father was Gunnery Sergeant Garrett Brennan, scout sniper, 2nd Battalion, 5th Marines." The words came out flat. "He taught me to shoot before I could write my name. 600-meter shots when I was 8 years old." Wade stared. "I promised my mother I'd never touch a rifle after he died. Only heal." Sloan stood, swayed, caught herself. "But 7 of you are dying if I keep that promise. So I'm breaking it." She didn't wait for permission. Grabbed Wade's M4, slung her medical ruck, moved. 30 meters felt like 30 miles. Every step sent fresh agony through 5 wounds, blood soaked through improvised dressings, tourniquet cutting off circulation. Shock wanted to drag her down, wanted to shut everything off and let darkness have its way. Not yet. A K-47 fire tracked her movement, rounds impacting dirt. Concrete, air. She made it to the building, barely. Ground floor was rubble and death. 2 insurgents from the initial assault. She didn't look at faces. Stairs to 2nd floor. Partially collapsed but stable. Sloan climbed. Each step a negotiation with a body that wanted to quit. 2nd floor, window facing the kill zone. Perfect sight lines, good concealment, multiple exits. She set down the medical ruck. Pulled what she'd need, hemostatic gauze, combat gauze, morphine syrettes, 4 supplies, then arranged ammunition. 4 magazines, 120 rounds total, against 35 to 40 enemy combatants. The math was bad, but David had faced worse odds with a sling and faith. Sloan positioned herself at the window, prone, rifle braced on rubble. Below, insurgents were closing on vehicle 2. Methodical, professional. She could see Wade, still fighting, returning fire with one hand while trying to bandage his stomach wound with the other. Could see Callahan dragging O'Connor. Pritchard, Sullivan, all wounded, all running out of time. Her father's voice. "Breathe, baby girl. 4 in, 7 hold, 8 out." Sloan inhaled, held, exhaled. Her heart rate slowed. Chaos narrowed to a single point. Between heartbeats. That's where you live. She found her target. Insurgent commander. Obvious from positioning. The way others deferred. 600 meters. Same distance her father had made her shoot at 8 years old. Finger on trigger. Not pulling, squeezing, steady pressure. Like you don't want to wake a baby. The M4 kicked. 600 meters away, the commander's head snapped back. He dropped. 3 seconds of frozen silence. Then chaos. Insurgents scattered, seeking cover, trying to identify the threat. Sloan was already moving to target 2. Machine gunner setting up. 550 meters. Breathe. Hold. Squeeze. Down. Target 3. RPG team. 620 meters. Every insurgent she killed was one less rifle pointed at her Marines. One less threat, one more second of survival. She worked methodically, professionally, identify, calculate distance, account for wind, elevation, temperature, squeeze. Move to next target before the body falls. By the time they figured out where shots were coming from, Sloan had killed 6. Return fire came heavy. A K-47 rounds chewing window frames. RPG impacting below her position. She changed windows. Different angle. Found target 7, the one coordinating the assault. 700 meters. Long shot for an M4. Edge of effective range. But her father's training had never been about what the rifle could do. The weapon is metal, baby girl. You're the weapon. She compensated for drop. For breeze. Squeezed, target 7 dropped. The insurgents pulled back. Regrouping. Sloan used the brake to work on herself. The side wound was bleeding again. She pulled up her uniform, saw the hole. High right abdomen, packed it with combat gauze, applied pressure, taped it down. The pain was extraordinary. She bit down on cloth, tasted copper, her own blood. Pain is just information. Process it later. Pulled a morphine syringe, 10 milligrams, jammed it into her thigh, not enough to dull completely, just enough to function. The sun was setting, golden light making shadows long, making targeting difficult. Sloan counted remaining ammunition, 97 rounds, 8 confirmed kills, roughly 32 insurgents left, 3 rounds per target if she was perfect. She'd never been perfect. Below, Wade was still on the radio, still trying, still getting nothing. The insurgents had cut them off from the world. No one was coming. Not tonight. Sloan settled in to wait, to watch, to protect 7 Marines with a rifle she'd sworn never to touch. Night came fast, twilight to darkness in minutes. Sloan had no night vision, no thermals, just eyes and starlight. It would have to be enough. She heard movement. Insurgents probing, testing defenses, found 2 fighters moving along the western wall, using darkness as cover. Tracked them by sound, by starlight disruption. Waited until they were 40 meters from her Marines. Fired twice. Both dropped. Muzzle flash gave away her position. Return fire came immediately. She rolled away. Moved to eastern windows. Found 3 more trying to flank. Killed 2, wounded the 3rd. His screams echoed for 4 minutes, then stopped. Sloan used the time to work on wounds. The shoulder was infected already. She could feel it. Heat spreading. Cleaned what she could in darkness. Applied fresh ointment. It wouldn't be enough. Infection would set in fully by tomorrow. But tomorrow was tomorrow. She checked ammunition, 89 rounds, 10 confirmed kills. The math kept getting worse. Hours passed in a fever dream of darkness and pain and waiting. Sloan drifted between consciousness and something else. Saw things that weren't there. Her father, standing in the doorway. "Hey, baby girl." But when she blinked, he was gone. Hallucination, blood loss, shock. Dawn came slowly, light bleeding across horizon. Sloan had killed 3 more during darkness. 86 rounds remaining. She could see the Marine position now. Wade's still alive. Barely. Moving slow. Callahan had made a crutch. Was hobbling between wounded, playing medic because theirs was busy playing sniper. Sloan's fever had spiked overnight. She could feel it, heat radiating from infected wounds. She needed IV antibiotics, proper wound care, a hospital. Had none of those things. She pulled her last IV from the ruck. Celine started the line one-handed. The fluid was warm, body temperature. Felt like ice hitting her system. Below, insurgents were regrouping. 25 fighters, maybe 28. They knew she was running out, knew she was wounded, knew time favored them. Just wait for her to bleed out, pass out, die, then kill the Marines. Sloan checked her watch. 0630, 48 hours since the ambush. No rescue, no extraction, just her and 7 dying Marines and 25 insurgents. She settled into position, arranged magazines. 86 rounds. It would have to be enough. The attack came at 0700, massed assault, overwhelming numbers. Sloan met them with precision. Target 1, down. Target 2, down. Target 3 through 6, down, 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 down. She worked the rifle like surgery, removing threats with clinical precision. 18 rounds, 6 bodies. The insurgents broke, retreated. 68 rounds remaining, 19 insurgents left. Wade was on radio again, still trying, still failing. The jamming was absolute. Sloan felt the IV bag run dry, disconnected it. Her hands were shaking now. First sign shock was winning. She pulled another morphine syringe, debated, decided against it. Pain kept her sharp. Dulling it meant missing. Missing meant Marines died. The sun climbed, temperature rising. Sloan's fever climbed with it, 102, maybe 103. Then the radio crackled. Not Wade's, hers, emergency frequency, a voice, male, American. Any station, this is Rescue 7. We have reports of contact at... Sloan grabbed the radio, hands shaking badly, keyed the mic. Rescue 7, this is, she paused. Couldn't remember her call sign. This is Navy Corpsman Brennan, grid reference confirmed. 12 KIA, 7 WIA, request immediate extract. Static, then Brennan say again, 12 KIA, aim, confirmed, ambush, 40 plus enemy, need immediate. Dizziness swept through, the room spinning. Radio fell from her hands, the voice again. Brennan, we're inbound, ETA 24 hours. Can you hold 24 hours, one more day? Sloan looked at ammunition, 68 rounds, looked at wounds, 5 holes, infected, bleeding, looked at Marines, still fighting, still breathing, because of her. She picked up the radio. Affirmative Rescue 7, we'll be here. Roger, stay alive, Corpsman. The radio went silent. 24 hours. She could do 24 hours. She'd done 48 already. The afternoon dissolved into fever dreams. Heat and pain in the mechanical process of killing. Insurgents probed. Sloan killed them. 3 rounds, 2 rounds, 1 perfect headshot at 800 meters she'd never replicate. By sunset, 8 more dead. 44 rounds remaining. 11 fighters left. Below, Callahan had made a white flag, trying to surrender. Sloan shot it from his hands. Keyed radio. Staff Sergeant, no surrender. Rescue inbound, 20 hours. Callahan's voice, weak, exhausted. Doc, we can't. You can, because I'm not letting you die. She changed magazines. Not today, not ever. Night fell again, second night in hell. The infection was bad, really bad. Red streaks spreading from shoulder wound. Lymphangitis, blood poisoning. Without IV antibiotics, maybe 48 hours before sepsis killed her. But she only needed 20 more. The math worked. Barely. This time when her father appeared, he brought a camp chair. Sat down across from her like they were on a Georgia porch drinking sweet tea. You look terrible, baby girl. Feel worse, Dad. How many left? 11 insurgents, 44 rounds. 4 per target. That's generous math. I might miss. Her father laughed. Real, warm, the sound she'd missed for 19 years. You never miss, not when it counts. He leaned forward. You know why one? Because you're not just my daughter, you're not just a medic, you're both integrated, complete. He smiled. That's real strength, baby girl. Not choosing between 2 halves, becoming whole. I broke my promise to Mom. You kept a bigger promise, to serve, to protect, to save lives with whatever tools the mission required. He gestured at the darkness beyond the window. 7 Marines are breathing because you understood that, because you didn't let fear or guilt stop you from doing what needed doing. I'm so tired, Dad. I know, but you've got 18 hours left. Then you can rest. He stood. Until then, you do what Brennans do. You fight, you save, you don't quit. Sloan blinked. He was gone. Had never been there, but his words remained. She checked her watch. 0200, 18 hours until rescue. She could do 18 hours, had to. Dawn broke on day 3. Sloan could barely move. Infection spreading, fever at 104, maybe higher. She'd vomited twice during darkness. Dry heaves because there was nothing left. Her hands shook constantly now, but she could still shoot. The insurgents came at 0700, final assault, everything they had. 11 fighters charging in broad daylight. Suicide. Except Sloan made it suicide for them. Target 1, 500 meters, center mass, down. Target 2, 600 meters, headshot, down. Target 3, 400 meters, moving fast, missed. First miss in 3 days. Corrected. Second shot, hit, down. Worked through 4 through 9. Mechanical precision, breathing when lungs wanted to quit, squeezing when fingers wanted to freeze. 9 dead, 2 left. Sloan reached for a fresh magazine. Her hands were empty. She looked down, saw the magazine on the ground, must have dropped it, reached for it, couldn't make fingers work. Below, the last 2 insurgents reached the Marine position. Wade, Callahan, 2 wounded to fight. Sloan watched one raise his rifle, point at Wade's head. She grabbed her M4, empty, useless, threw it aside, found the Beretta M9 on her hip, 15 rounds, but insurgents were 40 meters away. Pistol range. She'd have to go down there. Sloan stood, room tilted, spun, caught herself, moved to stairs. Her leg gave out first step, tourniquet too long, tissue damage, fell, tumbled 6 stairs, landed hard, got up, kept moving. Movement is life, baby girl. Never stop moving. Ground floor. 2 insurgents focused on Wade. Sloan raised the M9, hands shaking badly, between heartbeats. Fired. 7 meters, center mass. First insurgent dropped. Second spun, raised his AK. Sloan fired. Again. Again. 3 rounds, all center mass. Second insurgent fell. Silence. Absolute silence except ringing in ears. She stood there, Beretta raised, looking for more targets. Found none. 40 insurgents. All dead. Wade's voice. Barely a whisper. Doc, is it over? Sloan lowered the pistol. It's over, Gunny. Then she heard it. Helicopter rotors. Distant. Growing closer. Looked up. Saw 2 Black Hawks coming low and fast. Rescue. Finally, Sloan took 1 step toward the sound. 2 steps. On the third, her body decided it was done taking orders. Collapsed. Last thing she saw was sky. Blue. Perfect. Impossibly far. Last thing she heard was her father's voice. I'm proud of you, baby girl. So damn proud. Then darkness. The Black Hawk's rotors beat the air like a heart trying to restart. Senior Chief Marcus Williams moved through the village with 22 years of experience, screaming warnings his conscious mind was still processing. Body count wrong. Tactical positioning wrong. Everything wrong in ways that suggested something impossible had happened here. He'd counted 37 enemy KIA before reaching the building. 37. 119 spent shell casings from M4 magazines. The math made his brain hurt. Second floor, his team leader called. Got a pulse. Williams took stairs 3 at a time, found her against the wall where morning light painted her in blood and gold. Small woman, 5'4" maybe, couldn't weigh more than 120. Navy Corpsman insignia, name tape Brennan. 5 visible gunshot wounds that Williams could identify immediately through 2 decades of trauma experience. Empty M4. Beretta M9 still gripped loosely. 4 magazines arranged like someone who'd been counting every round. Medical ruck open. Combat gauze wrappers. Empty morphine syrettes. IV bags collapsed. She'd been treating herself while fighting. Williams keyed his radio. Command Rescue 7 actual, 1 survivor. Female Navy Corpsman, approximately 27. 5 GSWs visible, likely more. Severe blood loss, infection, sepsis, critical but viable. He knelt, checked pulse. Thready, weak. 50 beats per minute when adrenaline should have it racing. Her body was shutting down, making choices between consciousness and survival. Pupils reactive, sluggish, breathing shallow, skin fever hot. Ma'am, I'm Senior Chief Williams, SEAL Medic. You're safe. No response. She was beyond words. Williams started working, IV left arm, right 2 damaged, saline wide open. Second 4 right hand for antibiotics. Chief Petty Officer Jenkins called. Ground floor, Marines, 7 survivors, all wounded, asking for their corpsman. Williams looked at the woman, at what she'd done. Tell them their corpsman just saved their lives, he said quietly, and we're making sure she lives to hear them say thank you. He covered her with a thermal blanket, continued working. His team was clearing, counting, reporting numbers that didn't make sense. 37 confirmed enemy KIA chief, most from long-range precision fire, some close-quarters pistol work, all professional level shooting. Williams pulled out his tablet, accessed personnel files, HM2 Sloan Brennan, 3 deployments, standard corpsman record, then family information. Father Gunnery Sergeant Garrett Allen Brennan, USMC, Scout Sniper, 2nd Battalion, 5th Marines, KIA Iraq, November 2005. Williams stopped breathing. Garrett Brennan. Every Marine Scout Sniper knew that name. Every precision fire instructor had studied his after-action reports. The man was legend. Williams looked at the woman, at the impossible things she'd accomplished, at the legacy she'd inherited, and the promise she'd kept. Your father taught you well, Doc, he whispered. Real damn well. The evacuation took 30 minutes. Sloan went first. Critical, then Gunnery Sergeant Wade, then the others. 7 Marines who'd survived because 1 woman held the line. Williams rode with Sloan, monitoring vitals, adjusting IV rates, watching infection markers climb despite antibiotics. She didn't wake during the flight, didn't wake during surgery to remove bullets and debride tissue. Didn't wake for 72 hours while machines breathed for her and drugs fought an infection that nearly won. When her eyes finally opened, Williams was there. Landstuhl Regional Medical Center. Germany, best trauma care the military could provide. Sloan tried to speak. Couldn't. Breathing tube had only been removed hours before. Williams offered water. She drank, coughed, tried again. Marines' first word, first thought, her Marines. Williams smiled. All 7 survived. Wade's going to complain about his gut for 6 months, but he'll make it. Callahan's threatening physical therapist. The others are stable and asking about you constantly. Sloane's eyes closed, relief washing over her face. You saved them, Williams said. Held off an entire insurgent cell for 48 hours. Killed 37 enemy combatants with 119 rounds fired. Missed once. Her eyes opened. Should have been 119 for 37. Williams laughed. Couldn't help it. You missed once in 3 days of sustained combat while bleeding from 5 gunshot wounds. Yeah, Doc, real substandard performance. How long? 3 days unconscious. You were septic. Fever hit 106. We thought we were losing you twice. Sloane looked at her hands. Bandaged. IV lines in both arms. My father taught me to shoot, she said quietly. Before he died, I promised my mother I'd never touch a rifle again. Only heal. Why, but she'd already lost him to war. Didn't want to lose me too. Williams nodded. He'd heard 1,000 variations of that story. Your father was Gunny Garrett Brennan, scout sniper, legend in the community. You knew him, knew of him, read every after-action report, used them in training. Williams leaned forward. Doc, what you did wasn't just survival. That was art, precision, discipline. Everything your father taught you applied to save 7 lives. I broke my promise. You kept a bigger one. Williams gestured at the window. Wade told me you treated wounded Marines while taking fire. Got shot 5 times trying to drag men to safety. Only picked up a rifle when there was no other choice. Sloane said nothing, just let tears track down her face. That's not breaking a promise, Doc. That's honoring it. Different tools, same mission. I need to call my mother. Williams handed her his phone. Take your time. The call lasted 40 minutes. Williams didn't eavesdrop. But when Sloane emerged from the room 3 days later, walking with a cane, moving carefully, something had shifted. The weight, the guilt, lighter, manageable. She found him in the cafeteria, sat down with precision that spoke to healing wounds. My mother says my father would be proud. Her voice was steady. She said he gave me both skills for a reason, that he knew the world required complex solutions. Smart woman. She asked what I'm going to do now. Sloane wrapped hands around coffee. I don't know, I'm a medic. That's my calling. But I'm also my father's daughter, and I can't know what I know. Integration, Williams said, not choosing. Being both. Is that possible? Doc, I've been doing it 22 years. Saved lives with scalpels, taken them with rifles. Sometimes same hour. He sipped coffee. Operators who survive aren't specialists, they're integrators. They understand healing and fighting are tools in the same mission. Keeping people alive. Exactly. Sloane was quiet, watching steam rise. What happens now? Now you heal. Physical therapy, psych eval, debrief. Williams set down his cup. After, if you want it, I'm authorized to offer you SARC program. Special Amphibious Reconnaissance Corpsmen. Train with SEAL teams. Learn to formally integrate both skill sets. Still corpsmen first. Always, medical is primary. But you'd learn to defend yourself and your patients with skill that makes the difference. Sloane stared at her hands. I need time. Take all you need. The offer stands. 2 weeks later, flight home. CONUS, Naval Medical Center, San Diego. Sloane, Wade, Callahan. 3 other Marines, all ambulatory, all healing, all bound for whatever came next. The terminal was quiet, early morning. Few travelers. Wade found Sloane, stood before her wheelchair with the careful posture of surgical staples and healing. Doc, Gunny, Catherine told me she gave you the Purple Heart. She did. I tried to refuse. Good thing my wife's tougher than both of us. Wade smiled. Doc, 23 years in the Corps. Seen a lot. Worked with a lot of corpsmen. Pause. You're the best. Not just medical. Tactical thinking. Courage. You saved 7 against impossible odds. That's not luck. That's skill and something unteachable. My father, I know. Garrett Brennan. I was a boot lance corporal when he was at his peak. Heard the stories. 800-meter shots. Impossible angles. Wade gestured at her. You inherited more than his name. You inherited his gift, and you used it to save Marines. Callahan appeared. Staff sergeant. Hip healing. Cane matching Sloane's. Doc. Handshake. Knew there was something different about you from day one. The way you moved, observed terrain. Your father trained you right. 2 years, 6 to 8 years old. Then he died. 2 years was enough, Callahan smiled. He packed a lifetime into a small window. Your proof good training never leaves. Boarding call, the group moved slowly, carefully. Wounded warriors heading home. Sloan settled into her window seat. Pacific Ocean waiting beyond the horizon. She was going home. But home felt different now. Felt like a promise kept and broken, and somehow both were okay. 6 months later, Sloan stood before 24 students at Naval Amphibious Base Coronado. The sign read, Integrated Combat Medicine. Pilot Program. 24 corpsmen and medics, all volunteers, all willing to learn a new approach. Sloan had gained back the weight. 22 pounds, still small, still 5'4", but healthy, strong. The scars remained, 5 permanent marks. Reminders. She walked to the front without the cane now. Physical therapy had worked. Good morning. I'm Hospital Corpsman First Class Sloan Brennan. They'd promoted her, HM2 to HM1. This course is different. We're not making you better medics. You're already good. We're making you more complete. She clicked to the first slide. 2 images. Left corpsman performing needle decompression. Right sniper engaging target. Military doctrine separated these functions. Medical was medical. Combat was combat. Clean lines. Pause. But battlefields aren't clean. Sometimes the best way to save lives is stopping the people taking them. A hand went up. Young corpsman, 22 maybe. Ma'am, are we fighters first or medics first? Both simultaneously. Sloan clicked forward. Primary mission is always medical, always healing, but when situations require it, you need to defend yourself and your patients, not just survive. Excel. She spent an hour on case studies, scenarios where medical knowledge and tactical skills intersected. When to treat, when to fight, how to decide in seconds. The students listened, absorbed, asked questions. At lunch, Williams found her. How's the first class? Good, sharp, motivated. Sloan leaned back. Some are scared about learning to fight. Fear is healthy, keeps you sharp. My father said fear is just information. Williams smiled. He was right. You talk about him more now. Therapy helped. Understanding I didn't betray him or my mother, that I honored both. She looked at the roster. 3 corpsmen saved teammates last month using tactics from this course. Word spreading. Navy noticed. They want to expand. 3 more bases. 40 students per class. Sloan nodded. Good. More people who understand integration, more lives saved. You should be proud. You're changing how the military thinks about combat medicine. Just teaching what my father taught me. Use whatever tools the mission requires. That afternoon, Arlington National Cemetery. Sloan hadn't been back since the funeral. 19 years avoiding the place where they'd buried her father. But today felt right. She found his grave in Section 60. Marine emblem, Gunnery Sergeant Garrett Brennan, 1968 to 2005. Beloved husband and father. Sloan knelt, set down white roses, his favorite. Hey, Dad. The words came easier than expected. I broke the promise, the one to Mom. I picked up a rifle. She traced his name. But I think you'd understand. 7 Marines were dying. I was the only one who could save them. And you taught me how. Breeze moved through oak trees, warm California sunshine. I'm teaching now, showing other corpsmen they can be both, healers and warriors, that it's not contradiction, it's integration. She smiled. I think you'd like the program, based on everything you taught me. She pulled something from her pocket. The seal patch Doc Williams had given her, honorary SEAL Corpsman, placed it on the grave beside flowers. I understand now why you taught me both skills. You knew the world wasn't simple, that saving lives sometimes means stopping the people taking them. She stood. I wish you could see what I'm building. The legacy spreading. 3 last month, next month maybe 5, then 10. She saluted. Proper Marine salute. The way he taught her at 6 years old. I love you, Dad. I hope I made you proud. The drive back took an hour. Sloan spent it thinking about the future. Program expanding, more students, more bases, ripple effect spreading. She'd received letters, emails, messages from corpsmen she'd never met, thanking her, sharing stories of integration, using medical knowledge and tactical skills to save lives. The phrase appeared in unofficial mottos, unit patches, quiet conversations. Heal when you can, fight when you must. Both hands, integration over specialization. Her phone rang, unknown number. This is Brennan. Hospital Corpsman Brennan, Captain Harrison, Naval Special Warfare Command. Sloan pulled over. Yes, sir. We have a situation developing. Hostage rescue, high risk. Medical officer requesting someone with your specific skill set, someone who can integrate. When briefing in 4 hours. Wheels up at 2200 if you're willing. Sloan looked at herself in the rearview mirror, saw her father's eyes. Her mother's determination, scars marking her as someone who'd survived the impossible. I'll be there, sir. Outstanding. Welcome to the team, Petty Officer Brennan. Call ended. Sloan sat in the parking lot, thinking about promises made and broken, about integration, about the path her father had set 19 years ago. She drove home. Small apartment, off base, efficient, clean, always ready to deploy. Changed into civilian clothes, jeans, navy sweatshirt, normal life armor. Her mother called at 1800, weekly check-in, every Sunday since Syria. Hey, Mom. Sloan, how's the class? Good, sharp students, programs expanding. Your father would be so proud. I know, visited his grave today. Silence. Then how was that? Peaceful. I told him about the program, integration, both hands. Sloan smiled. I think he heard. I know he did, sweetheart. Mom, I'm deploying again, short duration, hostage rescue. They need someone with my skill set. Long pause. You're being careful, always. And you understand now that your father gave you those skills as a gift. I understand. Sloan looked at the photo, her father in dress blues. Healing and fighting aren't opposites. They're both service, both ways of protecting people. Then I'm proud too. Both hands, Sloan. Use both hands. I will, Mom, I promise. 2100. Sloan stood on the tarmac, Navy working uniform, medical ruck, rifle. Both hands, the helicopter waited. Rotors spinning, team loading. Williams appeared beside her. Ready, Doc. Sloan looked at the night sky. Stars scattered like hope on darkness. Somewhere up there, her father watched. Somewhere back home, her mother prayed. 7 Marines alive because she'd integrated both skill sets. Tomorrow, maybe more would live because she understood healing and fighting were tools in the same mission, keeping people alive. Ready, Senior Chief? They walked to the helicopter together. Warriors who understood the strongest weapon was knowledge, that hands could hold scalpels and rifles, that integration wasn't weakness, it was evolution. The helicopter lifted off, rising into darkness, heading toward another mission. Sloan checked medical supplies, checked rifle, both hands. The way her father had taught, the way she was teaching others. Below, California disappeared into night. Ahead, uncertain future and certain danger. But Sloan Brennan had survived 5 gunshot wounds and 48 hours of impossible odds. Had killed 37 enemy combatants to save 7 Marines. Had broken one promise to keep a bigger one. Whatever came next, she was ready. Both hands steady, both missions clear. Heal when you can, fight when you must, always serve. The helicopter climbed higher, into stars and darkness and unknown missions, waiting. And somewhere in the night, Sloan could almost hear her father's voice one last time. That's my girl. That's my warrior. Show them healers can fight, and fighters can heal. Show them integration. Show them both hands. Show them what it means to be complete. She would. She already had. And she was just getting started.